All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to a special Zoomcast for Century 21 Everest and all of our team members and players out there. I hope you guys are having a great Thursday morning. I'm glad you guys are here. This is also being recorded for everyone that is not able to be here with us. I know we have caravans going on in Camarillo and Ventura, but we thought it was really important to reach out to you guys, especially with the way the market is working right now and what we're seeing changing before our eyes. And with discussions that we've had with leadership, we wanted to make sure that we had a clear message for you guys, and also answers to a lot of the questions that are being asked right now. Many of us are seasoned agents. We've seen this happen before in the life cycle of real estate in our area. But we also have a lot of agents that have never experienced anything like this. So it's our job to keep you guys on your toes, keep all the tools available to you guys, and to leverage and be able to support you guys as you provide that leadership for your clients. So today we're going to be talking about pretty much how to address what's going on with interest rates, how that affects buyers and sellers, and what different ways we could communicate and articulate the options that are available to our clients. We're going to be talking to our one team, Kendall, and all of our wonderful agents over at Inspiro Financial with some options, and also with our Everest leadership on different ways that we can handle these hot topics that are happening as we speak. But first off, I'd like to start by welcoming our broker of record, Charlene Simone. Thank you for joining us, Charlene. How are you? I think I have you on mute. Are you on mute?
I know. Can you hear me now?
Yes. Hi. Good morning.
And it's still 2 years later. We're still saying, "Can you hear me now?" Crazy,
that's gonna,
right?
Yeah, that's going to be a meme for the future when we look back at the COVID years. So yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So, anyways, thanks for joining us today. And I know we had some discussions throughout the week, but I know you had a lot of things that you wanted to address to the agents, and I just wanted to have a conversation. All of us just have a conversation of what we're looking at and what we should be concentrating on as we speak to our clients.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for asking me here today to chat with everybody. And if you have questions while I'm talking, you can put them in the chat, and maybe Armani can let me know if there's something in there, and I'll try to answer it for you as best I can. So first of all, I just want to tell you, for anybody who's been in the business 5 years or less, I am very excited for you to start to experience this type of a market. And I'll tell you why. You're going to learn so much in this type of market. You are going to learn now how to structure transactions, to put deals together that will carry you for the rest of your career. Because these are the times when we have to be very creative. We have to think outside of the box. So one other thing to keep in mind right now, I'm hearing from a lot of agents, "Oh, I'm so slow. I'm so slow." Okay, every year, no matter what's happening with interest rates, take that off the table. Every year, from the time the kids get out of school in June until 4th of July, it's always quiet. I say it every single year. So after 4th of July, hopefully we'll start to see things will pick up a little bit with buyers and with sellers, but just know that this time of year, that's really very normal to have happening. So now we have interest rates that are above 6% for the most part. And I will just say that with the interest rates that we've been experiencing, that was an anomaly. Like, I've never seen that before in my career. 5%, 6%, 7%. These are all very normal interest rates. And I know it's going to take some adjustment for our buyers to get used to that. Now they have less buying power than they thought, or, oh, their payment's going to be more than they were expecting. So what are some of the things that we can do to help with that? This is a golden opportunity for buyers, because we're going to see prices start to come down a little bit, but that's not the word I want you to use. I want you to use the word adjust. Tell your buyers, The market is adjusting. Tell your sellers too, especially. But don't use the word coming down, because when you say down, buyers always anticipate it's going to come down farther than wherever it is right now. So adjust is a better word to be using with our clients in this market, as it is making adjustments. Now, there will be other programs that will be coming available for our buyers to look at, and I'm sure that Kendall and Spiro will speak on this. But one of the things that they could look at, in fact, it was actually on the Today Show this morning. They can get a regular conventional loan. Adjustable rate mortgages are now coming back into play. And there's factors that go into adjustable rate mortgage. Interest only mortgages are now coming back up. Again, a little bit more risky of a loan, but there are going to be other options for buyers rather than just a straight conventional FHA or VA loan. But what can you do as an agent in this market? So let's talk about buyers first. First of all, buyers have been beaten out and been beaten down, right, over the last couple of years. Take the time to go back through any buyers that you were working with that didn't buy at the time. Look at open house books from maybe earlier this year, or maybe even a couple of years ago. But start reaching out to these potential buyers. You can send them a text, you can give them a phone call, but a lot of people, as you know, never did get the opportunity to buy. And now this could very well be their market. It is better to buy when a market is adjusting down and have a higher interest rate. And you can explain it to them this way, because at some point interest rates will come down again, and then you can refi and get that lower interest rate at that time. It's very important that buyers focus on what can they afford. What is affordable? And the reason I'm telling you this is our last crash. This I do not anticipate to be a crash. This is going to be an adjustment with a soft landing. But when we had a crash several years ago, the reason that happened is because the banks were loaning money to buyers who could not make the payments, right? You remember all of this happening. So if they focus on what they can afford, it may not be as big of a property they were looking at before, but as long as they can afford the payment now, then when rates adjust, they can either sell that property and buy up, or they can just take advantage of the lower interest rate. So what can you do right now besides buyers, besides talking to your buyers? One of the things I would say is don't dismiss, as we have in the past, people who are looking to rent a property. Right now, as you can see, rents are continuing to go up. And if you have somebody who wants to rent a property for $4,000 a month, $5,000, $10,000 a month, it can actually be a halfway decent paycheck for you. Could be anywhere from $1,000 to $3,000, maybe even more. And if you consider that maybe you're opening the door for them 1 or 2 times, and you can be paid in a couple of weeks, it's actually something to consider to keep revenue coming in for you. One thing that I did when we had a slow market years ago is that I reached out to builders who were doing small infill projects. You know, maybe they're only doing 10 homes or 15 or some townhomes. And I developed a relationship with them. I went to their project every week. I brought them a box of See's candy. I brought them cookies, whatever. And 2 things came of that. One of the builders, they told anybody who came in to their trailer to buy that they had to use me as the agent to sell their other property. So I was the one that was referred to them to sell the homes for the people who wanted to buy into this project. The other thing that came of it is with another developer, I did end up being their agent. I sold them land. I sold them properties for them to fix up and flip. And then when they built, 10, 12 homes, I was the listing agent on all of those. So what I'm getting at is you're going to need to think outside the box a little bit of where am I going to find business? I don't recommend this next thing I'm going to tell you, but I will tell you that Tina Hare, when we had the downturn in the market, actually found a client who was buying and flipping properties in San Diego. And she was down there like 2-3 weeks a month helping him. But that was what she learned from it, is you have to go where the business is. The business may not always be right here in our backyard. For sale by owners, you can find those on Zillow. You go into Zillow, you go under buy, and you'll see that there's a set, you click the buy button and you see there's a section for people who are selling their homes themselves. You can also go back and look for expireds. Now, everything's been selling so fast. We know maybe there aren't a lot of expireds, but go back a year or a year and a half and see if you can regenerate some of these people if they still have an interest in selling. Another thing that I've been talking to agents about is, no matter what's happening in the market, there's always going to be sellers, there's always going to be buyers, right? If you're looking for listings, one of the things you could do is talk to the title company and ask them to give you a list of an area, like not a whole city, but an area where people have continued to live in their home for 40 years or more. Because what I'm seeing is that people who've had their homes for 40 years or more, some of them, they want to move to something smaller. Maybe they want a single story. Maybe they want to move out of state, or maybe they just want to go to a more of an assisted living type situation. So there are opportunities out there. You just have to be willing to go look for them and think outside the box a little bit. Now, working with the buyers, what are some of the things that we can do to help our buyers? Because they do have this higher interest rate looming over their heads now. One of the things that we've talked about, and definitely you would have to speak with the lender that they're using, and maybe Kendall will touch on this, is to have a seller, or you ask in an offer, is the seller willing to buy down the interest rate? I don't know how much it costs to buy down a 1/4 point or a 1/2 point or a point. You'd have to ask the lender about that. But that would be something that could help your buyer tremendously. Years ago, we also used to ask for the seller to pay closing costs. Now, there's only a certain amount that they can pay. So the lender also has to say, yes, that can happen up to this dollar figure. Another thing would be to ask, will the seller prepay a month of HOA dues? That could also be a benefit to the buyer. So it's thinking about these other things. You're going to need to know for your buyer, what's more important? Is my cash more important? Do I want to have less money that I'm paying out up front through the escrow? Or is the interest rate and my monthly payment more important? And that's where the HOA dues prepaid for a year could help your buyer if they don't have that extra expense, right? I'm trying to think if there's other, do we have any questions, Armani?
I'm looking at the chat room. I don't see
Okay.
anything yet. Yeah.
Okay. So what's going to happen for you as agents? Are you going to see possible adjustments in your income? Potentially, it depends on, what happens with your business. So be smart in your business right now. Make sure that you are continuing to market, but make it smart marketing, right? Use social media as often as you can. Make sure that what you're putting out is a quality product if you're doing paper, but you need to try to keep your expenses down. You need to make sure that you have enough money to go on month after month. And I also want you to, when you're working with clients, I want you to be able to have good dialogue with other agents. So I know this isn't always the easiest thing to do, but I think as this market goes on, this will become actually very critical. You're gonna have to find out from the other agent, what are the things that the seller's willing to concede on, and say, and these are the things that my buyer is going to want. You're gonna have to have open communication with the agents. Our area is experiencing this adjustment period. San Fernando Valley is not yet experiencing it. So remember, if you have clients going out in the San Fernando Valley area, they will not have the same experience. It is still very, very competitive out there. So sellers, it is very important that you are having ongoing conversation with your sellers about the adjustment in the market. Luckily, the interest rate increases all over the news, so hopefully they are fully aware of that. But I'm seeing a dramatic slowing in the area here. And I have an escrow going right now, but I have still been very clear with my seller that what's happening in the market. This property just went into escrow on Tuesday. I had 0 showings over the weekend. And this property was not overpriced. So it's going to be important to have open, honest dialogue with your sellers from the beginning, even before you take the listing, and let them know the market is adjusting. And those high prices that we were looking at are not there now. If they still want to list high, you just need to say, okay, but in 7 to 10 days, we have to talk about a price adjustment. If you're going to do coming soon, you should be able to tell from the kind of inquiries you get during coming soon, whether you're priced right or not. And I would have that conversation with a seller as well and say, okay, we're going to do coming soon. We're going to do it for 21 days. If I have nobody inquiring about this property in 21 days, we already know that the pricing isn't right. So it is going to be honest dialogue. And I know a lot of times we do role play and we do objections. And a lot of the times with objections with sellers, or I don't want to reduce my price and I don't want this and I don't want that. This is where you as the agent are going to have to pick and choose who you're going to work with. If the seller has a need to sell, a need, and they want to be priced high, okay, you can live with that, because at some point, because they have a need to sell, they're buying a home out of state, there's somebody it belongs to somebody who's deceased, and they need to sell it for the trust or probate or whatever. Then you can live with a higher price, because you know at some point they are going to have to come down. They might be mad at you about it, but they're going to have to come down. If you are talking to a seller who has no real need, they just want to test the market, so to speak, or they just want to see if they can get this price, please be careful about the time that you spend, because there are going to be real buyers and sellers out there, and you can spend a lot of time and money on somebody that you have not really qualified as a good buyer or a good seller. So Armani, I know I've taken a lot of time, and I know you have other people that want to speak. I hope that some of these things have been helpful for you all out there. And if you have questions, always feel free to send me an email. I'm always happy to help out wherever I can.
Thank you. Thank you, Charlene. And you know what, that you pretty much covered all aspects of what we're seeing. I do have some agents chiming in on chat. Blake Mashburn said, change with the market. That's the key to longevity in this business. Another one from Stuart, who said, over the years, when the market changes, it changes almost overnight like it is now. This is not something we haven't seen before, just not for a while. Smart sellers may want to price just below the market. Chasing the market down is going to hurt the seller. All Charlene's advice is stellar. So there's kudos to you, Charlene.
Okay,
I do
thank you.
want to share the screen real quick and just put something into perspective on everything that you just said. So the median price right now in Ventura County sales is 850,000. Okay. And I want to share this little graph that I shared this morning with my team. It's if you look at an 850 purchase price with a conventional 10% down, you have the graph right there. I don't know if you guys can see the graph. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So on the left, you have a 5.5 interest rate, which was typically last week and a little bit before that. Their whole PITI payment was $5,737. Okay. Within a week or a little bit more than that, we've seen rates as of yesterday at 6.5. Okay. And that alone increases that buyer's buying power to $6,229 a month. That's a difference of $492 increase within a small period of time. This I experienced last night with a offer that I received on my property in Fillmore. They came in, everything was clean. I sent a counter back just to cross the T's and dot the I's. The rates came out yesterday. They checked with their lender, and all of a sudden they got scared with the payment. And that's what happened. My immediate response to that was I called the lender and I said, hey, did you give them the most current rate and can you lock it? My follow-up question was, if with that being said, if the seller would participate in helping them buy down the rate, I need to know that dollar amount so I could go back to my seller. I tried everything that I could to put it together. And this morning I just got a text a bit ago that they're walking away. So that is going to be happening, especially with such recent movement. And I want you guys to be aware of it. But again, if you look at this graph, the difference of $500 on a monthly is huge. It's huge. And now if you're working with that particular buyer, you have to look at how has this affected them. If their max was $5,700 a month, their buying power just went from 850 to 780,000 in that period of time. That's a $70,000 decrease in what they can get. This is the information that you should not only be aware of for your buyer, but also share this with your seller. Let them know that this is the buyer pool that is shrinking right before our eyes, depending on the market that you're in, depending on the pricing market that you're in. Because, you know, if you're dealing with buyers that are putting 10, 20, 30% down, they're a little bit going to be more flexible in doing something. But if they're the first time buyer or barely moving up from their first purchase, it's going to be really tough. But like Charlene said, stay connected with them, let them know that you understand, and be that leader, and just be their advocate. Know what's going on. Let them know that right now, especially in this period, and I'm glad Charlene mentioned, for those that have experienced the last downturn, it's exciting to see this happening, not for the sake of our clients, of course, but for those that are going to gain knowledge and experience as we move forward. It's going to be a huge growth for you guys, and it's going to make you guys better agents. That's all I could say.
Let me just jump in and say one other thing that Stuart and Blake both said in what they wrote in the chat. And you just said as well. For those of you that stay in this business and you work and you try different things, some of the things that I mentioned, you will have a career for the rest of your life. But what you're going to see that's going to happen, and when we were in Kauai, I said to John Syatt, so remember that was April that we were there. I said, John, this market is turning, and I'm going to tell you, we're going to see agents leaving the business, and we're going to see companies shutting down. And he said, you are 100% right. That is exactly what's going to start happening. So we're in the market where the strong will survive. And I know you are all those strong agents. And for us, this is great news, because those that came into the business just to make their money fast and get out, they're going to be gone really soon. And that opens up a lot more opportunities for us.
Yeah, most definitely, Charlene. And with that being said, I do want to bring in our one team, Kendall Baker and Inspiro Financial, as to get the ideas from Inspiro and what we could do as agents to help our clients that are in the middle of this climate right now. Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Good. So glad. Thank you, Charlene. I took so many notes on what you wrote down. Everything you said is so valuable. I love your opportunity in approaching builders. I think that was such a unique and awesome idea. And that's the kind of forward thinking that these markets allow. I don't know about you. I'm a roller coaster girl. I love roller coasters, and we're all about to be on one together. But the really, really good news about that is the thing that makes you feel safe on a roller coaster, right, is those straps and that pull bar that comes down over you. And in this kind of market, that's exactly who your lender now is. We're so grateful that Inspiro is well poised to be here. There's been no more of an important time to work hand in hand with our loan officers here. I want to make a couple points. As you all are aware, and I don't want to echo too much or repeat too much of what's already been said, but the lending market is quite volatile. We know what rates are doing. We're watching that go up and down like we haven't seen in many, many years. And I will say you have buyers out there who have other lending relationships and come to you with, hey, I have a loan officer from Wells Fargo or Bank or whoever their loan officer is. Now is the best and most crucial time to give the advice of telling your borrowers they should have a second conversation. Just like when you're going in for an important medical procedure and you want to get a second opinion, please know that Inspiro is here to give a second opinion, even if it's not the relationship that your buyer currently has. There's never been a more important time to really compare what programs are available and what's out there because of the creativity that this market demands. So please know we are here to give a second opinion, whether we're able or not to maintain that relationship. We will always suggest to your borrower to do what's in their best interest for their budget, for their future, for their home ownership. So please let us be a second choice behind their current lender if they're already having that conversation. I'm going to send it over to my wealth of experienced loan officers. I have Jane Robertson sitting here next to me and Mariana as well on the call, specifically because we're starting to see different programs come back. It's necessary. The one thing I do want to say is in talking to so many agents as I do, every single agent of mine who has a listing or is working open houses is saying dramatically the activity has slowed. I want you guys to know that that's normal. That's something that we're all seeing across the board. And in kind of the consensus we're putting out there, buyers are waiting. Frankly, they're waiting to see if the price does anything for 2 weeks. And then after that 2 to 3 week mark, we tend to see the phones blow up or the offers come in. So just please know that I'm seeing that in every office with every listing agent that I talk to as a big, big norm. So I'm going to go ahead and start with Jane. She's sitting right here to talk about what's happening in the lending world and what programs we actually expect to maybe be making a comeback in this difficult market.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I just wanted to piggyback on Kendall's conversation with regards to the second conversation. It actually could be more than a second conversation. We are happy to do a backup package for you just as a safety net for your transaction. We can process the entire file, get as far as we can. And, you know, if something happens to the other lender, we're there to help you out and be your safety net. So keep that in mind. We're always happy to do that. I mean, a lot of the things that I had written down to talk about was what Charlene had touched on. The ARMS was one of them. I think that with the rates moving upward, we're going to start seeing the 5-1, 7-1, those type of loans come back, which would probably be a nice bridge for us with the rates moving upward. So keep that in mind, and we will keep you posted. Again, seller paying closing costs. Armani and I had priced one out the other day, so that's always an option. And it really is specific to the day that they are looking to lock and to the rate that they're looking to lock. It's not like a set amount buys down the rate a certain amount. It's priced differently amongst all the different rates. So Mari, I think you had a couple of things you wanted to mention too.
Sure. Yeah. So buyers are so focused on the monthly payment, and it's a good thing because we can get creative with it. So whether they get a gift from family or a gift from the sellers, they can look at how to best use that amount of money. So we can look at paying off upfront the mortgage insurance, which could be hundreds of dollars a month. So for a conventional loan, you can actually look at whether they can pay it off or the monthly option. But paying off could be a couple thousand, and a seller credit could really come in handy. And we've had buyers try to get money from parents, family, to try to pull that money and bring the loan amount down. That eventually will lower the monthly payment as well.
Awesome. That's really helpful. Another thing I want to touch on as far as tools, when either you're a listing agent or a buyer's agent, when you're working that open house, and although we are seeing a decrease in activity, focusing on the payment amount married to that home seems to be a really great visual cue for buyers who are walking through, or even buyer's agents who are just perusing. Felicia did a presentation in Westlake, how, you know, she put up a scenario on a whiteboard as to what the financing scenario would look like on that home and exactly the monthly payment amount that the buyer would be. We can create flyers for you specific to the numbers of that home with an estimation on where interest rates are, so that a buyer can actually say, you know, what does it look like monthly for me? The conversation for the past 2 years has been very much focused around interest rates because it was a really easy conversation. It was full of good news. It was one everyone was excited about. We have to switch the narrative. We have to switch the script to more be about the buyer's monthly budget, what they're comfortable paying, and what they can afford, and really arm our sellers with the statistics of what the market is doing. Depending on your seller's personality, if they're a visual learner, if they're an engineer, if they're a graph person, if they're a pie chart person, you know, whatever it is, collect the data that makes sense for them to see that the market isn't doing what it has been for the past 2 years. And I have to agree with Stuart, it certainly feels as though it's changed overnight. Obviously, we saw interest rates dramatically increase this week, but it feels like everyone is seeing that and feeling a little sense of insecurity. Our job is to establish confidence, to establish calm, to establish certainty in whatever the market is doing. If you marry yourself to any part of the market, you're going to lose every single time. Our jobs are still exactly the same, and that's to close loans with Inspiro, obviously to sell homes and to help buyers get into homes as real estate agents. And our proactiveness on our side is we're calling every borrower we have that we have a pre-approval with, or that we have who was shopping anytime within the past 6 months or even in the last weeks, and talking to them about positioning them for this market and locking their interest rate as soon as possible. If you have an active buyer right now that's shopping, they need to be having the lock the interest rate conversation now, because we've seen how dramatically it can change. And refinancing in the future is always an option. Rates can change, right? We know they do, and we know they will, but getting in and locking at the best interest rate today is probably the biggest piece of advice I'd be giving buyers who are shopping right now.
Can I add one thing? Charlene, you had talked about social media pieces, and I know we've touched on List Reports before, but if you're not signed up for that, List Reports does on a daily basis populate social media pieces that all you just have to do is grab and go and upload them. So if anyone has interest, please reach out to us and we'll get you signed up on that.
And last but not least, I do want to share Charlene's point about farming. I was obviously in escrow and title for 18 years before coming into this role, and so I'm very familiar with farming. Being strategic in your farming efforts has never been more important now. There is data available. There is no privacy left in this world, right? If you want to find teachers with a standard poodle and 2.5 kids, honestly, that data exists and can be found for you. Please connect with your title representative. Find owners who didn't refinance in the past 2 years. I know it felt like the whole world refinanced when interest rates were super low, but not everybody did. Maybe either they weren't qualified to, or they didn't get the memo, or, you know, whatever the reason was, those people may be more apt to sell, other than those who really don't want to lose that 2% interest rate that they gained over the past 2 years. But that data is available for you from a title perspective. So make sure you're connecting with your representatives and getting creative. Instead of casting a huge net to all of Camarillo, find homeowners who have a single story who didn't refinance in the past 2 years, and they may be, you know, that's exactly what your buyer needs. Your chances of success in landing that listing are much, much higher. The other group that I find is neglected is our absentee owners. Everybody tends to farm for owner-occupied single family. Go for your absentee owners. They don't tend to be as insightful as to what's happening in their immediate market. And you can be that voice of, here's what this market is doing. Here's what your neighborhood is doing. Talk to them about doing a 1031 exchange and purchasing a different investment property. Tough markets don't last, but tough people do. I'm personally excited for the opportunity this market is bringing, and grateful for the team that we have at the helm to support you with it. So don't be scared of that roller coaster ride. Just know we're here to be your seatbelt through the whole thing.
Thank you, Kendall. Thank you, Inspiro. Thank you guys for the great advice. Appreciate it very much. As we're going to be concluding, I do want to bring in Brandon real quick and talk about some of the training that we're doing, along with any of the managers that want to add to this. But as we're listening to this right now, if we're talking to listing agents and buyers agents, if you're a listing agent, the things that we're taking away from today is plan ahead and plan for the long run. Okay, all of us, when we take those listings, we're really quick to spend the money that we need to spend to get the most exposure, but make sure you guys are leveraging what the company is giving to you guys. There's so many tools that are available online on 21 Online that we're not leveraging, specifically Golden Ruler and your activity reports off of the MLS. If you guys aren't leveraging that, talk to your manager, please, because it's going to help you guys when you have that difficult conversation on reducing prices. They're going to ask you, well, what have you been doing for me? And those reports will show how many eyes online have seen that specific property. It's only going to help you tell them, look, you've seen 2,000 people look at your home. We're not getting any calls. You know, it's the price and we need to act now. Okay. So be proactive about it. Be prepared to be held responsible, even though it's not your fault. They're going to look at you as a reason why they're not selling their house. So make sure you always stay ahead of the conversation, be that leader, and don't wait for response to respond to it. Rather be ahead of it and let them know exactly what's happening and what you're doing to help them. Okay. The other thing too is when you're taking listings and you're competing for the listing, obviously you want to be a great resource for them. If you're going to price it, obviously use the facts, what's coming out of the CMAs and so forth, but expect no matter what price you choose, buyers are not going to move right away and they're going to wait for price reductions because that's already in their head. So if you're going to price it at the top of the curve if you can. That way you allow yourself room to make those price reductions whenever we need to do so as you go through your marketing period. Okay. As for buyers, if you guys are buyers agents, make sure you re-qualify all of your buyers. Call them, call the lender, find out exactly how they're positioned, find out if they have any assets that you don't know about, 401k and so forth. Many of people lost a lot of money in their 401k the last couple of weeks, and maybe they're enticed to just move that money in a more solid investment. And we all know, if you look at history, real estate has been the place where people put their money when the stock market is volatile. Okay, so think about that. And again, just be their advocate for them and also for your clients. Brandon, I wanted to bring you in. I know all of our managers, we do trainings and we get our agents up to speed, but we're definitely inviting everyone that needs to refresh their skill set on these different topics to invite them to come over and learn the things that we're teaching. Now I wanted to add you into the mix and see what you wanted to talk about, bring.
Yeah, thank you, Armani. Great to be here. How's everybody doing right now? Just by a show of hands, is anybody feeling just a little anxious? Show of hands. Are you feeling a little anxious, or is everybody feeling rock solid? A little anxious? Okay. Well, that's how we are gonna feel, and that's how our competition is feeling. That's how the real estate market's feeling right now. That's how the public's feeling. And I like what Charlene started with. I like a lot of the great tips that have been brought up, but she said she's excited. Can anybody understand why you would be excited right now? Well, I'm also kind of out there and I'm excited as well. And the reason why I'm excited is because what was happening before was not normal, was not healthy for anybody. And so before, commissions were the most important thing for a lot of people in terms of discounting commissions to try to get market share. Those people are going to be out of the business. Now it's going to all come down to how strong of a leader are you? Are you willing to have those courageous conversations? Are you willing to be direct and be willing to lose the business by being so brutally honest with your sellers that they know that you are the only person that cares enough to tell them the truth to earn their business and earn their trust? A few weeks ago, even, that wasn't as prevalent or as demanding as right now. So I'm excited because we got some great agents who have also come and joined us recently because they know that Everest is the place that will give them the environment and the support to be confident and certain in a time of uncertainty. And that is exactly what we need to be. Those agents who can be certain right now and can help future pace and know their market and know how to speak to their sellers and their buyers are going to thrive, even if it seems a little scary at first. And we all need to, and that's why I appreciate Armani organizing this, be proactive. We can't sit back and wait. We have to be proactive. We got to head straight on into this. We got to sharpen our skills. We have to be better at our communication and our conversations. I wrote notes like crazy with everybody speaking with the great ideas that Kendall and Jane brought as well. And the very first sheet, I took a picture of what Armani, the screen he put up. Because if you're not having these conversations with your sellers as you're interviewing for the listing, then you're already 2 steps behind. So we have to be 2 steps ahead. We have to talk about what kind of buyer can actually afford to pay for this home at $850,000, $5,000 a month. Would you, seller, be willing to pay $5,000 a month for the same home you're in right now? So I always write down these lists. And this is one thing, if you are taking any kind of notes, I would say, okay, why is now a good time for a buyer to buy? Because they can. Because home ownership isn't about trying to buy something that's going to jump 100,000 in equity. The market is different than it was when it crashed before. How is it different? Make a list. How is the market different from the previous crash? Every change creates an opportunity. Last time I freaked out was when COVID shut everything down and we couldn't go inside a house. We can go inside houses now. We can see properties now. Sellers are willing to listen now. We haven't seen that for over a decade. So the things we can be proactive with is, if you don't have a role play partner, get a role play partner. Start practicing these conversations. Have a friend that's going to be honest with you. Start playing out these situations. Have your questions prepared before you engage in these conversations. Start participating in trainings if you're not showing up. I see the same 5 to 10 people, and they're all going to be fine because they're sharp. The people who are training are going to be fine because they're sharp. If you want to make sure that you're on top of your game, we got to stay connected. We got to stay connected to our team, our one team. We have to know what's going on with the rates on a daily basis, on a weekly basis. We have to open up this communication. We got to lean on each other, and we can be the strongest force here in Ventura County. We already are, but we can be stronger, and we can leverage what we have around us instead of working in these silos. I'm excited for what's coming because I know the strongest leaders are going to do very well in this market. And if there's any areas that we're weak in, we need to focus on those areas and become stronger. We need to be better in our communication than ever before. And you will be getting stronger commissions. You'll be getting, there's a need now because you can't just list with anybody. And every seller isn't just a genius right now for trying to save as much money as possible and put their house on the market with anybody. And it really doesn't matter. Now it matters. So your presentation on your buyer side should be strong. Your presentation on your listing side needs to be strong. You need to set future pacing is ultimately critical in terms of setting proper expectations. If you do the discovery, you find out why somebody truly needs to own a home. You find out why somebody needs to sell a home. You're going to be fine. And you don't promise them things that aren't going to be there. And that's the difference between you and the competition out there. We have to come from a place of strength, not a place of fear. The fear is out there. We got to block all that out. And we need to control what we can control. And I see a lot of people that we've done trainings before in the past. Those market reports are critical now. Being the market expert is critical right now. Showing them the numbers is critical. So I'm excited. I hope you are participating in the trainings. Always please reach out to any of the great leaders that we have in this organization. If you're not coaching, start coaching. Do group coaching. Do the one-on-one coaching. Do the morning ascents. Participate. It's going to pay some major dividends. We're not all extremely slammed right now. And if anything, listings are going to start becoming easier to get. But they're going to be, now you have to look at, do I want to spend my money with this particular person that's still thinking 6 months ago, right? So these are all critical things. Excited about any questions just based on what we talked about so far, or You know, I wanted to try to bring a little bit of enthusiasm. I was pretty lame this morning on a previous presentation, so
I
I
think
hope
wanted to
brought a
make
little
a
bit of excitement.
Brandon,
Yes,
really quick.
Kevin.
I thought that was so great. Inspiro sends out to all of you the Markets in a Minute update every single Friday. You should all get that in your inbox. Please utilize that tool and just forward it on to your clients. It's completely branded. If you want to create your own, we can partner with you in that as well. But it's a great snapshot. They're under 2-minute videos as to what interest rates are doing, what the stock market is doing, all of that financial goodness. It's very meaty and very easy to listen to. We have a lot of traction with the Markets in a Minute. So please reach out to your Inspiro team if you'd like to get that set up to go out to your database.
Sounds good.
I
Great.
just want to expand on a couple of things that Brandon said, or one thing in particular. When you're going to be when you're working on listings now, you guys, you are going to not only have to be completely honest with your sellers, but you are going, like I said earlier, you're going to have to step up your marketing to make sure that you are getting as much exposure for your properties as you possibly can.
Mhm.
But know that it's going to take longer. You're not going to get offers flooding in the first week. So pace yourself dollar-wise on what you're going to be spending, and just let your sellers know when you go in for that appointment, this is a longer process now, and it's a more costly process for what you have to put out there to get exposure for their property.
Yeah.
And then also just on buyers, one other thing, as we're putting buyers into escrow, and for those that we have closed in the last year, I already know what's coming. People are going to say, oh, I overpaid. Oh, I'm losing equity. If you look at the history, I've been in this business 33 years. You look at the history of what's gone on over the last year, the years that I've been in it. The market goes up, the market goes down, up, down. When we had that big crash with all of the short sales and foreclosures and all that, I advised so many of my sellers, I said, if you can afford the payment, please don't sell. And they're like, I've lost all this equity. I have to do a short sale. And look what's happened. The market's gone higher than ever. If those people had hung in there, they would have gotten their equity back and then some. Anytime I've been in this market, it always comes back higher than where it was before. So let your buyers know it may adjust down a little bit, but it will, I promise, it will always come back. That it's going to happen. So they need to not worry about the equity. It shouldn't be their retirement fund. That should be something else. But the equity that they will get back, they can use to make their next purchase.
Great. Thank you, Charlene. Thank you, Brandon. Kendall, we're reaching an hour, and I want to thank everyone for joining us today. Please note, this environment right here is a definition of who we are. Take advantage of it, guys. Look to your leaders in your office. Attend the trainings that we're doing, because our narrative is completely going to change. It's going to take a 180. We're going to have new content to be talking about. And I'm like with Brandon, I am excited. And I'm excited for the agents that haven't experienced this before, because it's going to add your IQ to the next level, and it's going to make you a more complete real estate professional. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to hearing from each one of you guys as we proceed. And just get involved, engage, and let's sharpen up our skills. And the one thing, I'm going to read what I wrote in this morning's journal for myself. And what I said was, keep positive, keep calm, keep focus, know your client's motivation, and keep leveraging that throughout the process. I'll end it with that. We're going to be fine, but let's become better neighbors, right? Let's stay connected. Let's talk to each other. Let's talk to our senior agents that have been through this. Ask them questions. They'll be more than happy to share with you what they've experienced, because if you're successful, I'm successful, and we're all successful. So let's end it with that. You guys have an awesome day. Thank you for all the participants. Thank you for being here. The recording will be out later on this afternoon if you need to watch it again. And let's go out and let's provide that leadership that Everest does. You guys have a good one. Take care.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
I didn't ask for a free ride. I only to show me a real good time. I never asked for the rainfall. At least I showed up, you showed me nothing at all. It's coming down on me, harder like misery. It's coming down on me. I'm ready, rain on me. Drop, but at least I'm alive. Rain on me, rain, rain, rain on me, rain, rain. I'd rather be drop, but at least I'm alive. Rain on me, rain, rain, rain on me. Living in a world where no one's innocent. Oh, but at least we try. Gotta live my truth, not keep it bottled in. So I don't lose my mind. Baby, yeah, I can feel it on my skin. It's coming down on me. Teardrops on my face, harder like misery. Let it wash away my sins. It's coming down on me. Let it wash away. I'd rather be dry, but at least I'm alive. Rain on me, rain, rain, rain on me, rain, rain. I'd rather be dry, but at least I'm alive. Rain on me, rain, rain, rain on me.
Hands up to the sky. I'll be your galaxy. I'm about to fly. Rain on me, tsunami. Hands up to the sky. I'll be your galaxy. I'm about